Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I wanna be a part of it. New York, New York, I'm melting away. I'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. If I can make it there, I'd make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York. New York, New York. I wanna wake up in a city that doesn't sleep, to find I'm king of the hill, head of the list, cream on the crop at the top of the heap.
And for my money, he should have won the Best Supporting Actor Oscar last year for his fabulous work in Tucker. Please say hello to Martin Landau.
How many Madisonians are here tonight? Did you sing that song? Follow the bouncing ball. You know, recently, I was back in New York for a period of time, about 3.5 months recently, working on Woody Allen's new movie. And I made one trip to Brooklyn to work and went through the tunnel, and a lot of memories went flashing through my mind. It's funny because Woody and I played a little game one day. I'd say the Elm, he'd say the Kingsway. I'd say the Avalon, he'd say the Midwood. The Kenmore, the Lowe's Kings, the Marine. And it occurred to both of us that we grew up pretty much in the same neighborhood. He was an ally of ours during World War II. He went to Midwood. But sorry about that. But it occurred to us that our love affair with the movies started in those very same theaters. He fell in love with movies, and I fell in love with movies, and he still lives in New York. But it's quite interesting because those movies that looked like movie theaters, remember them? At any rate, I don't really have too much to say tonight other than I'm very happy to be here to honor Jan Murray, who I'm going to be working with tomorrow in the Chabad telethon. And I think Murray Janowski, as Rabbi Cutler said, has really been an amazing man throughout his entire life, philanthropic, someone always attached to important causes, someone always giving of his time, and I'm thrilled to be here to honor Jan, and thank you.
Some years ago, I saw the movie 3 Days of the Condor, and a man came on screen with such charisma that I made a note to find out his name. He played the vicious postman who tried to kill Robert Redford, and my wife never forgave him for that. He's been in many movies, including Death Wish, Johnny Dangerously, Exorcist 2, The Sting 2, and a few more number 2 movies he'd like to forget about. Here with some reminiscences about growing up in New York is DeWitt Clinton's Mr. Hank Garrett.
After that introduction, reminds me of a song, everybody, I call everybody number, and everybody calls me number 2. That's right. I'm from New York. of course. I went to Dewitt Clinton High School. I was raised in Harlem, 111th between Park and Lexington. Well, there are a few of us here, but I got to tell you, I'm still having trouble adjusting to California. And I'd like to explain why. Because I remember as a kid, the family was really family-oriented. A typical morning, my grandmother and my grandfather would get up, my mother and father, my Uncle Charlie, my Aunt Rose, my cousin Seymour, my cousin Ruthie, my brother Saul, my brother Murray. And before I knew it, I had that whole bed to myself. It was interesting. You remember? My grandfather, who was a wonderful man, was born in Russia, Odessa. Was there a Russian Jew that came to this country that didn't come from Odessa? We lived on 111th, and my grandfather went to the movies 3 times a week. He loved cowboy pictures. He would call them cowboy. 3 times a week. As time went by, the neighborhood changed and it became a Puerto Rican neighborhood, and the theater became Spanish-speaking. And my grandfather went to the movies 3 times a week. And I said, Zeta, Grandpa, do you understand Spanish? He says, and the English I understood. He was so crazy about Westerns. He used to call my grandmother an old coyote. It was, the one thing he always wanted all his life were a pair of cowboy boots. Saved up his money and he bought a pair of snakeskin boots. And he came home. My grandmother was a wonderful knitter. No one knew what she was knitting. She learned on the boat coming across, and I could swear she was knitting an anchor. She sit and with the knick, knack, all the... He came home with these boots, and he said, Sarah, you notice something? She said, no. Give a look from all of it, dude. No. Ran into the bedroom, and he took every stitch of clothing off, except for the boots. He said, Sarah, take a good look. She looked, said, do you notice something? She said, no. He says, for God's sake, Sarah, look, take a... Even over here by me, the friend is pointing at the new boots. She said, Betty, you should have bought a new hat.
New Utrecht High School in Brooklyn has spawned many show business talents. Vic Damone, the legendary Phil Foster, whom we honored at our first New York alumni party, Harvey Lembeck, Jack Carter, who shall remain nameless, and our next speaker, the man who epitomizes sophistication in whatever he does. Look up the word class in the dictionary. You'll find a picture of Gene Barry next to it. And the odd thing about it is that Gene's real name is Eugene Class. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gene Barry.
Oh, yeah. That's a fact. Any of you people who went to New Utrecht High School as long ago as I did, and in my class, would remember me as Eugene Class, yes. And I had a big problem with that name, actually, because, well, you know, the teachers would say, Class, would you answer this? And of course the class would answer. That's when I decided I was going to be an actor. And to think that all of those years going to New Utrecht, and then earlier than that, Montauk Junior High School, and walking in those bitter cold days to the school from 53rd Street and 20th Avenue, where I lived, all the way over to, was it 16th Avenue and 43rd Street, isn't that right? For Montauk, that is, yeah. When I compare that to our kids out here, you know, they won't go to school unless you drive them in the car, you know. That's not really true. But anyway, when you think, when I think of the kid going to school in New York City at high school and wanted to be an actor from the very first day. Avenue, remember that one? And then I did Bat Masterson, you know, and well, that's a comparison. It's a kind of a, what happened in between, you know. Bat Masterson, the fellow with the derby hat and the cane, the most elegant cowboy in the West. I may not have been the fastest gun in the West, but by God, I was neat one time. Yeah. Well, I first met Jan in New York City when he was hosting his own game show. What was it, Jewish Jeopardy or something? And we got very friendly. I beg your pardon? Treasure Hunt. Yes, I remember that show. It was a very good show. What was the name of the fellow who ran it? Anyway, we met Jan out here. We played golf together. We became very close friends. And on Yontif, on Passover, we've had the good fortune of going to his home where he conducts this beautiful Seder. And his wife, Tony, is the real balabusta in the house. If you've met Tony, really, it's her mother, Mrs. Murphy, who does all the cooking. And we have great times at Jan's home. And he tells a story. He tells a story of how, when I was leaving La Cage aux Folles, you remember in La Cage aux Folles, I had a song, la da 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 da, as we walked on the sand. Do you remember that? Yeah. You remember? He tells a story that how, when I was leaving the New York company, Alan Carr, the producer of the company, said to him one day, "Say, you resemble Gene Barry." He said, "Do you sing?" And he said, "Do I sing?" He didn't say I sing, he said, "Do I sing?" And he said, "Why don't you get up on some of the songs?" You see? So he did. Jan got up on, he tells his story on himself. He got up on some of these songs, and he worked with a coach, and he was going to audition for Alan Carr in New York, and Jerry Herman, the writer of the music. But one day, after working for weeks, he asked his daughter to hear the song as they, to show her how he had progressed. And this is the way it came out. I heard dum-diddy-bum, diddy-bum, diddy-bum on the sand. I heard la-diddy-bum, diddy-bum. Needless to say, he didn't get the job. But I am very happy to be here this evening to honor Jan and, of course, to be part of this great group. And let's have a lot of fun. Huh?
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Valentine.
New York, New York, it's a hell of a town. The Bronx is up and the Battery's down. The people ride in a hole in the ground. New York, New York, it's one hell of a town. Come on along and listen to the melody of Broadway, the hit parade and ballyhoo, the lullaby of Broadway, the rumble of a subway train, the rattle of a taxi, the daffodils who entertain, and Angelo and Maxie's.
In all seriousness, one of the great comedians to ever come out of Brooklyn or New York, the first angry young man, Mr. Jack Carter. star of TV's Combat Show, as well as one of the first private eyes on the tube when he starred in The Case of the Dangerous Robin. I may be the only person old enough to remember that. Say hello to Mr. Rick Jason. Where are you, Rick? There he is, right back there. From Franklin High School, a man who seems to get younger with every passing year. Star of stage, screen, television, and any medium he damn chooses. How about a New York alumni hand for one of my favorite actors, Anthony Franciosa. One Lincoln boy who made good as a writer-producer began his career as part of a vocal group known as the Tokens, who made the million-seller record The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Please welcome Phil Margot. Where are you, Phil? There he is right there. By Michael Roth from Jan Murray's Valley Temple. Jan belongs to two temples. He's quite wealthy. After graduating Lincoln High School, Lou Gossett Jr. and I took an apartment together at 38 West 57th Street, where we shared the huge rent of $85 a month. Lou was starring in the Broadway play Take a Giant Step. I was collecting unemployment. Later, he stood up for me and my wife Neela at our wedding 32 years ago, and since then, I'm happy to say he's acquired a new and far more attractive roommate. Please welcome actress, singer, and now Mrs. Lou Gossett, Miss Cindy Jones. Mission is a man who's been a success as a performer, a writer, a producer, a director, and as a husband and father. Carl Reiner claims that he's now famous for being Rob Reiner's father. But those of us who watched his brilliant second banana work in your show of shows, and then later enjoyed his scripts and cameo appearances on the Dick Van Dyke Show, know that he is, always has been, and always will be one of a kind. Come on up, Carl. Carl, Estelle usually is on time. She walked in a moment late. Ladies and gentlemen, a woman who is a brilliant singer in her own right, Estelle Reiner. Please take a bow, Estelle.
Now, we were told to use 3 minutes. I don't know which 3 minutes I should use. There are a lot of different 3 minutes up here. I'll try to use a real 3 minutes because you can't talk much longer about Jan Murray than 3 minutes. About it. No, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry they're doing this for Jan Murray tonight because Jan Murray is a loser. And he is so brilliant when he is a loser. He is so angry at the world that he is not Robert Redford or whoever he's supposed to be. He's not Merv Griffin, who knows? He's very angry, and tonight you're making a star out of him. You're taking his whole career away from him. He will not be pissed off anymore. The reality situation is that he's made it, you foolish people. When I first heard of Jan Murray, I was I'm a few years younger than Jan Murray, and I went into an agent's office. I know he looks younger, I know. He does things to his hair. And his hair fights back very often. But when I went into an agent's office, I swear this is absolutely the truth. He looked at me and he said, "You could be another Jan Murray." And I didn't know who Jan Murray was. I said, "Who's Jan Murray?" He says, "Go to the Paramount, tall, dark, and funsome. He's on the Paramount stage." I went to see Jan Murray, and I realized I could never be like Jan Murray. He was really terribly funny, witty, charming, handsome. But I finally found out what they meant by it, why I could be another Jan Murray, because I am another Jan Murray. See, Jan Murray is a basic schmuck. Those of you who know him, Jan Murray has pissed on his shoes more times than anybody, even people standing in a urinal. And he tells stories about complimenting Jose Ferrer for 15 minutes and finding out it's Hume Cronin. I mean, You heard one of the stories where he sang like a, in 1963, I am very nervous about standing on a high school stage because I didn't do well at Evander Childs High School. Thank God I got a 79 average and couldn't go to college. You needed an 83. So I had to go and become a shipping clerk on 37th Street for Roselou Frocks. And if it wasn't that, I wouldn't have not been angry enough to become an actor-comedian. So I thank God I wasn't smart enough. But in 1963, because Red Buttons was really Aaron Schwartz, and they didn't know that Red Buttons went to Evander, and Bess Meyerson, they thought maybe would do something untoward one day. It fell to me to be the first Hall of Famer at the Evander Childs High School, and I didn't think I could be in town at the time, and I finally did get in town for something else, and I said, I can come there. They said, you're the Hall of Famer, whether you're here or not, but if you'll come to the high school. And I did at Jan Murray, and then I realized that I really am like Jan Murray. I was very excited, but I was very nervous about going back to my high school, where I didn't do well. I got a limousine on a Tuesday. That's when it was supposed to be. And I got in my limousine and went all the way up to, and I was so nervous about what I'm going to talk to these kids. And it was no longer a Jewish high school, it was a black high school. And I had to tell these kids about how to make it. And I got there, it was 10 o'clock, and it was supposed to be assembly. And the high school looked smaller to me. And I figured I wasn't that well liked because there was nobody there to greet me. And I walked up I literally did this. I walked up the steps, went into the auditorium of the high school. There was not a soul there. And I quietly said to myself, as Jan Murray would have, hey, schmuck, didn't they say Wednesday? And I swear to God, it's absolutely true, like a cartoon. I literally walked backwards out of the building, down the stairs, and walked backwards into the limo, came back the next day and told the kids exactly what had happened. I said, you see, you can be dumb and a schmuck and an idiot and still make it. So, but I'm very, very sorry that we're giving this to Jan Murray tonight because he's going to be too big a success and I have nothing to complain about.
To serve as the MC for the show portion this evening is a guy that was here last year, a good friend of mine, a man who was producer of The Tonight Show, manager of Johnny Carson, Pearl Bailey. He's the guy that put on the first all-black version of Hello, Dolly. And he's the guy... Just a minute, guys. Just a minute, guys. Just a second. He was also the guy that brought the Beatles to Las Vegas, believe it or not. A good friend, a colleague, a pal, and most importantly, a graduate of George Washington High School, Mr. Stan Irwin.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a lovely round of applause for Stanley Ralph Ross. They say if you have something successful, use it again. Last year, my biggest reaction was for one word regarding New York called Charlotte Russe. Since I had a marvelous laugh to become a clack for Jan when he was at the Paramount. Jan's first show was at 9 o'clock. And if it did well, you were brought back. And I ran around the theater laughing and applauding all throughout the Paramount. Jan got the job, and I got thrown out. A young lady who attended 2 New York high schools, Erasmus and Julia Richmond. A lady, wherever there's a venue for the performing arts, she has appeared, whether it be in Europe and Canada, the United States, Las Vegas, New York. A lady who is truly one of the finest vocalists of our time. A native New Yorker, born and bred in Brooklyn. A one-of-a-kind Rosalind Kine.
Thank you. And good evening, all of you transported New Yorkers. You want all my love and my devotion. You want my loving soul right on the line. I have no doubt that I could love you forever. The only trouble is you really don't have the time. You want all my love and my devotion. You want my love and soul right on that line. I have no doubt that I could love you forever. The only trouble is I really don't have the time. I got one night only, that's all I have to spare. One night only, let's not pretend to care. One night only, come on everybody, come on. One night only, we only have till dawn. In the morning this feeling will be gone. It has no chance going on. Something so right, I've got no chance to live. So let's forget about chances. It's one night I will give. One night only, come on everybody. Oh! One night only, we only have till dawn. One night only, there is nothing more to say. One night only, words get in my way. In the morning this feeling will be gone. It has no chance going on. Something so right, I've got no chance to live. So let's forget about chances. It's one night I will give. One night only, come on everybody. Oh! One night only, we only have till dawn. One night only, there is nothing more to say. One night only, words get in my way. One night only, that is all I have to say. One night only, let's not pretend to care. One night only, come on everybody, come on. One night only, we only have till dawn. We only have till dawn. We only have till dawn. We've got one night only.
He was born in Indiana, but he went to New York University. This year, nominated for the Comedian of Colleges of the Year for 1989, ladies and gentlemen, Hugh Fink.
It's weird, you find New Yorkers in Europe, they totally ignore the churches and the museums and the wonderful things. All they do is look for other New Yorkers. It's like, hey, you're from New York? Yeah, what neighborhood? Brooklyn. Yeah, Prospect Park, 2nd Avenue. Did you know Vinnie Gonzalez? Vinnie Gonzalez, I shot him. Let's go for pizza. The best food in all of Europe is Italy. I can safely say that, right? And I want to recommend a fantastic restaurant, Two Guys from Brooklyn. You got to check it out. I watch a lot of sports on TV. I must say, I think the best announcer currently in sports is Chick Hearn for the Los Angeles Lakers, right? Because Chick Hearn can not only tell you what's happening play by play, he also knows obscure stuff about the players' lives. Magic Johnson brings a ball down court. Magic, a German literature major at Michigan State, bounced past to James Worthy. Worthy, who was born in C-section at the Naval Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland. Fakes it over to Michael Cooper. Cooper, his brother Tyrone, serving fighters in Chino for armed robbery. He shoots and scores! Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Not another funny Jew with a violin. Maybe it's because when you go to hear the New York Philharmonic live, you sit on the edge of your seat, not knowing whether or not the concerto is finished. very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Connie Woodson and Don Snyder.
Come on in here. Come on in here. Alexander's ragtime band.
Come on in here, come on in here. It's the best band in the land.
They can play a bugle call like you never heard before. So natural that you wanna go to war. That's just the bestest band what am. My little honey lamb, come on along, come on along. Let me take you by the hand. I'll tell the man who's the leader of the band. And if you wanna hear that swan playing ragtime, come on in here, come on in here. Alexander's ragtime band. Oh my honey, better hurry and let's meander.
Ain't you going to the leader man, leader man?
Oh my honey, let me take you to Alexander's brass band. Ain't you coming along? Come on in here, come on in here. Alexander's ragtime band. Come on in here, come on in here. Well, it's the best band in the land. Make a play a bugle call like you never heard before. So natural that you wanna go to war. That's just the bestest band what am. A little honey lamb, come on along, come on along. Let me take you by the hand. Come to the man, that man who's the leader of the band. And if you wanna hear that Swanee River played in ragtime, come on in here, come on in here. Alexander's ragtime band.
Get ready. Mr. Television, Milton Berle.
And I want you to know, there's a switch, I can't get it down. I actually came here tonight because I heard they were raffling off a prostate operation. I did go to school in New York, in Harlem, at the PS 184. They're still living up there. If you had any money, you'd be sitting here. Because you... Christ, I got so much gas, I'm being followed by Arabs. Oh, I have an announcement to make that at the end of this year, I may retire. I may retire. And if you believe that, you'll also believe there'll be a Rex Reed Jr. Waiting for Jan to pick up a check is like leaving the porch light on for Jimmy Hoffa. We thank the Lord, Jan, for sending you to earth. I really mean that. In the immortal words of Abraham, who said to God, now God, let me get this straight. They get to keep the land and the oil, and we get to cut off the tips of our what? In the immortal words of Mrs. Dan Quayle, who said to her husband when she was in bed with him, you're no Jack Kennedy. It is a pleasure to be alive and to be breathing amongst my friends from the East. and I'm glad to see you all here tonight. Healthy. Two great movie stars, Mr. John Voight and Mr. Lou Gossett, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm shaking.
Ad lib. Oh, I know how to do it now. Forgot, it's been so long.
We're not going to be funny. Not going to follow that great one over there. But we're here to present some things to an old friend of ours from the great city of New York. Someone who went to DeWitt Clinton High School. A man that I'm always very glad to see. Last time was at the Riviera Country Club, telling jokes on the 18th tee. I feel that when I learned something in Lincoln, I learned that I was taught, as you were taught, that when two pressures come together on the earth, if it pressurizes long enough, a diamond comes. And I believe that this is a room full of diamonds tonight. And the diamond that we are honoring this evening is Mr. Jan Murray. Beautiful room. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me say one or two.
Yeah, you got some things to say.
I'd like to believe that we were all put here on earth for a very good reason, rather than looking back at our lives with only regrets. And there are not many men who can say that they know their mission in life. And if we are among the fortunate who are aware that they can contribute to help the men that cannot feel their mission, then we know we are certainly doing exactly what we were meant to do, which is reach out and help. And Jan Murray is one of those fortunate ones among us who, from a very early age, has known his calling, because he certainly is evolved in the energy and good humor it takes to help people laugh at themselves. So we are here tonight to honor him and to express to him that he is a great symbol of love energy that only a New York boy can generate. My little speech is taken on a spiritual tone. That's because I went to a Catholic school. And it stays with you. Really? And certainly we can notice that Jan Murray is quite funny and must have gone to the school of hard knocks. And so for this evening, we celebrate his lovely energy, his survival, and his magnificent gift to us all, and we have a few gifts for him. One is this lovely jacket from the alumni of DeWitt Clinton High School.
Jan. And the other is from the New York Alumni Association. Jan, this is the house you grew up in, the Janowski house. And this is your grammar school.
Yeah, 75, yeah.
There you go.
than him.
Can't speak, baby.
Thank you. Thank you, Milton. Thank you so much. Lou, John, God bless you. I know you I'm going to be dancing with in a few hours. You ought to bring Lou over, too, tomorrow night. You think we can? Sure. He'd love it. Lou, we're going to schlep you over to the Chabad. Milton, you didn't do enough. You're going to help me now, right? I'd rather be on the stage with a chimp and a kid than with you. Why don't you have a drink? I'd first like to thank everybody, certainly the Sigmunds. They're the ones who asked me to please be here tonight, and then they told me all about this. I didn't know about this thing, you know. So this has been a great day for me, an evening, late afternoon, an evening of nostalgia. And, of course, watching the best entertainment I've seen, and God knows how long. You know, they said, hey, we'll have a little show. In fact, there is a story that typifies the evening for me, anyway, just to get one story off that Milton hasn't heard. That will soon be his. Little story that will soon be his, you know, and it takes place in a church services. 3 men up on a pulpit, and finally one of them gets up and he said, my name is Harris, I'm the sexton here, and he says, I make $12,000 a year in my job, and I don't think that's enough money. And everybody in the congregation yelled, here, 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 here. Second man jumped up and he said, my name is Reverend Smith. He said, I'm the Reverend here, and he said, I make $18,000 a year, and I don't think, you know, that it's enough money for that job. Here, here! Congregation shouts, here, here. The third man gets up and he says, my name is Bishop. I'm Bishop Sands, he says, and I make $25,000 a year, and I don't think that's enough money for the job. The congregation, here, here! A little guy up in the balcony stands up, he says, my name is Schwartz. He says, I'm the organist, I play the organ, and I make $100,000 a year. There's no business like show, business like dough. So, won't it be nice for Milton to have a new one the next time? No, it's an old joke too, and I told you. Anyhow, but that to me typifies, exemplifies, you know, this evening, because first, of course, the wonderful speakers who were on earlier in the evening, and you know, God bless them, and good friends of mine, and it was wonderful hearing them. And then this gigantic talent, these 3 of the best singers I've ever heard. I listened, not I've heard, I shouldn't say that, but 3 as good as any I've heard. They were just wonderful. And this young comedian, this You Think, I shut nachas when you laugh so much at him, because last year, just about a year ago today, Milton and I were invited to one of these comedy clubs in the Valley. We were asked to act as judges. You know, they have these young comedians, and the contest goes on for about 6-7 months, and then finally is the finals. And Milton and I were the judges. And after we had voted for what we thought was the winner, the new comedian, young comedian that we thought was the winner, they introduced a boy who had won the year before, and this little guy got up, this You Think, and I was shrieking, I was hollering. I just thought he was wonderful. And so I asked him, he asked me rather, I think he was there with his agent, and they said, is there any chance to get him on the Chabad show? Well, you know, you can't put comedians on with Rabbi Cunin. I mean, he thinks everything is dirty, you know what I mean? You can't. Poor Norm Cosby got up one year and he says, last night, you know, my wife and I were in bed. No, he was just going to say a story that she said to me, whatever. He came right up and ushered him off the stage, you know what I mean? And Norm says, what, am I on too long? He was on 3 minutes, you know. But he doesn't even wait to hear if it's going to be suggestive. So comedy is a little difficult to do on the Chabad telethon. And, but I said, gee, I'll try. I said, I certainly feel you deserve exposure, you know. I said to this young man. At any rate, about 2 weeks ago, I got a call from his agent. Says, remember last year you promised you think, we see the telethon is coming on. Can you get him on? We'd like him to have this exposure. And I said, gee, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I said, I just think this young guy is so good. And I think comedians who had a little luck in this world owes it to the world, because to me, I appreciate and I love all kinds of talent and artistry and everything. But comedy, of course, would naturally have a special place in my heart. And I think it's important that somebody comes along that makes people laugh. You know, to me, laughter is so important, not only to me in my life, but I feel it's important for everybody, you know. And so if I have a chance to, you know, help a young comic, why not? Go. So I said, gee, I says, I'm going to put him on. I says, and I'm going to put him on the phones. Let him answer the phones, and then when I introduce the people on the phones, we'll sneak in 2 jokes. But I said, I'll tell you where I'd like him to have some exposure, if you don't mind. And I told him about tonight's event. And I said, there are going to be agents and people and hip people and a lot of theatrical people, and I think this young guy should be seen. And he was loved here tonight. And I Shep Knockers. I wish I could have taken the bow of presenting Milton. He's the master, you know, he's the boss of us all. He was the inspiration for my whole generation of comedians. We came up one generation behind him. Jack Carter, Red Buttons, Jackie Gleason, Sid Caesar, myself, all of us. This is the guy we all used to run to Lowe's State and the Paramount Theaters in New York and learned from. And we can still do it. There's nobody like him, Mr. Berle. I want to lay one thing to rest before it's been a long, long night. I'd like to just clear up one thing about my own personal life. You know, sometimes you read in the papers that, I don't know if you ever have, but I've seen it in the papers that I graduated DeWitt Clinton High School. You know, Jan Murray, DeWitt Clinton High School graduate. Other times in my biography and all, it says that Jan Murray, who had to leave high school after his freshman year to help his family and so forth. So there's a dichotomy, you know, there's a little separation there that I think needs a little explaining. The truth of the matter is that after my freshman year at DeWitt Clinton High School, I did quit to help my parents. It was Depression years, and I got a job in a doll factory and made $9 a week, gave them 6, I kept 3, which was enough in those years for fare, car fare. It was a nickel or something, right? Lunch for a quarter, you had a good lunch. And I remember I used to have 30, 40 cents every week to fritter away foolishly anything I wanted to do. And so I was able to help them. And about many years later, 1961, good Lord was very good to me, and I was on television. This is after quite a few years of theaters, nightclubs, and all that. Now I'm on Coast to Coast, and I was lucky to have the top daytime show in America at that time, a show called Treasure Hunt. And it was, we used to use contestants, it was audience participation show, and sometimes on the air, you know, and I'd get a young teacher, beautiful teacher or something, and I'd do jokes. I'd say, well, your teacher, boy, you know, when I went to DeWitt Clinton High School, we didn't have teachers look like you. My teacher was so fat, every time she turned around, she erased the blackboard. You know, funny jokes, you know. So old, she remembered history, you know, whatever. So, and one day I got a letter from the principal of DeWitt Clinton High School, Mr. Degnan, and he said, dear Mr. Murray, he says, you have the faculty, the alumni, this student body, you have us all crazed here. Every so often you mention when you went to DeWitt Clinton High School, we keep looking at the records, and we can't find you. And yet we feel you must have attended, because why would you be talking about it? So I sent back a telegram, look under Murray Janowski, signed Jan Murray. A week later, I got another letter, oh yes, we did find out, and so forth. We found your records, we see that you quit the school in your freshman year. After your freshman year, did you go to another high school, or did you just quit, or whatever? We'd like to know, although we are proud that you attended our high school, even if it's one year. So I wrote back, I wrote him a letter. I said, no, I quit to go to work with depression, blah, 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 help the family. But I said, the one thing I lacked, I always felt that I sorely lacked and that I missed, was an education. And if there's anything, you know, I would do over again in my life was by hook or crook, educate myself more. And about 2 weeks later, I received another letter from him. He said, the faculty, the student body, blah, blah, blah. We all had a meeting. And because of your good deeds, we read about all the charity benefits you perform at and so forth. We'd like to give you an honorary degree. So in January of 1962, I graduated DeWitt Clinton High School. So they're both true. I was the valedictorian. My son Warren, who was a freshman at NYU, was on the stage. It was a big thrill for him to watch his father graduate high school. And, in those years, the tape had just started. I had taped my television show, but I had to get my next show ready. So after I got my diploma and everything, ran back to my office and worked all day. And that evening, Mr. Alan Courtney and his wife Mary, who were vice president, he was vice president in charge of programming at NBC at the time, and they lived in Westchester where we did, and they brought Tony down, my wife, and they came to New York, Manhattan. We had dinner, and we were going to go to a movie, and we're walking down a side street in the 50s, I forget exactly where, and the two girls were ahead of us, and Alan and I were talking, and I noticed suddenly the girls disappeared. They made a left turn, they disappeared. I said, what the hell is that? So I ran forward, and I see that they had walked into the Peppermint Lounge. Now, if you remember, at that time, the craze was the twist, you remember? And the Peppermint Lounge was, and I always used to say to Tony, I said, God, I'd love to go down, because that twist was such a fun dance. I said, someday I'd love to go to the Peppermint Lounge. So I said this to Alan, I says, oh God, Tony and I always talk about it. I said, I guess she walked in to see what it's like. Come on, we'll have a drink. We walked in, and there were some people around at the bar, and I see Tony and Mary over where the waiter was, where the maitre d' was, and I said, oh, they're looking at the room, let's go in. So I walked over, and I looked in the room, and I saw every comedian from New York City, who was in New York City, an actor, and maybe 100 different friends of mine, all in the Peppermint Lounge. It was my prom. It was one of the most beautiful nights of my life. The press was there, Milton was there, Carter was there, Red, Sid Caesar, the world was there. All the comedians from my generation. And they gave me autograph books and fountain pens and everything. And so in my house there proudly hangs, my diploma. And every once in a while we have a guest or something, and they'll say, Jan, God bless you, you look terrific. It seems I know you and heard your name 100 years. How the hell old are you? And I say, Schmo, come here. How old could I be? I graduated high school in 1962. I thank everyone concerned. This is beautiful, and as I said before, show business, all these show people, I bless them and I thank them, and if it wasn't for show business, I certainly wouldn't have gotten to this point and on this stage, on this spot at this time of my life. My son Howard, my daughter Diane coming up, my son-in-law David, hey David, my darling daughter Celia. Incidentally, all of these three, Celia, Diane, and Howard all graduated here at Beverly High. As a matter of fact, Howard's given up, Beverly High has their own reunion tonight, their 20th reunion. 20 years ago, this boy graduated right here, and he's kind of given up the reunion for a minute to help celebrate this with his dad. He'll run as soon as we get through. My daughter-in-law, Helen, and who's up here? Hey, my son Warren, this is the guy from college who watched me graduate. And Hope, my daughter-in-law. I want you to meet the glue that keeps us all together. My darling, I love her. In 2 weeks from tonight, if the good Lord will give us 2 more weeks of life, we will celebrate our 40th anniversary. October the 7th.
We want you to sing it good and loud and correctly. Do you feel the beat? Keep vamping.
doesn't sleep to find I'm the king of the hill, top of the heap. My little town blues are melting away. I'm